Ollie, thanks very much for joining us. It's been an historic season for you because you've been assistant to your father now for almost 2 decades. You've got a joint licence, and I know this was something you two had worked very hard at achieving for a long time. It must feel good to finally have your name above the door.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I actually did my trainer's exams in 2011, so quite a long time ago, and yeah, it's taken us quite a long time to get to this position, but it's thanks to the BHA and I suppose other countries leading the way that we're here today.
Not everyone is, I mean, I've discussed this with so many people on this programme before, not everyone finds it that easy to work cheek by jowl with their own family. Have you always had a pretty good working relationship?
Yeah, I think I've always really respected my father and taken his advice on many occasions, and he's pretty easy to work with, really.
Is he quite laid back?
Yeah, I mean, you know when you can sort of have a go, and you know when you can't have a go, and then when you can't have a go, you really shouldn't.
Tell me about your sort of earliest memories growing up at Watcombe, because it was a pretty gilded place in your youth. I mean, we're sort of, I mean, it annoyed you because I told you were only a couple of years younger than me, but I remember sort of my childhood, all those great horses, many of them owned by Prince Fahd, Salman, and they just seemed to come off a production line. There were Group 1 horses every year. Yeah,
it was incredible. I mean, it obviously flew by, but I mean, I remember, obviously, you know, Generous winning the Derby was absolutely incredible, and the kind of traction that went with it, sort of big press days, and you sort of got, you didn't, you know, I didn't really get caught up in it, but because I was so young, but I really knew the sort of power of the stable, and it was very powerful. And Prince Fahd put 70 horses into the yard every year, and in turn that sells the yard, so you get a lot more owners that put a lot more horses in, and then you're on a roll. And unfortunately he died in, I think, 2000, and 60 horses left the yard, and then it's quite difficult to get back up and on a roll again, so you know, we're trying.
I remember those times. It wasn't just Generous either. It was Ibn Bay and Zoman and Magic Ring and Dillam and Great Palm, and the list goes on and on. 3 winners at Royal Ascot in 2-year-old races. But Generous made a massive impression on everybody, I think, because he was such an impressive winner of the Derby. He really was a complete superstar.
Yeah, he was an amazing horse. You know, he was always so generous when, I mean, to use the word, in his work, and he always used to win his work very easily. And the reason he was called Generous is because we were doing evening stables one time, and Prince Fahd was there, and he said to me, "Which horse would you like a share in?" And obviously, you know, being very young, I loved the colour.
So you were how old at this point?
10.
You're 10 years old.
Yeah.
And Prince Fahd Salman says to you, "Which horse in the yard would you like a share in?"
Yeah, in fact, I could have been 9 actually. And I said, well, obviously, I love this one. I love the colour, amazing colour. I'd love a little share in this. And then I think he turned around to Andy Penfold and he said, well, you know, see if the name Generous is available, and that's the story.
So you did actually own a bit of that horse.
I think he decided to forget. I did try and remind him one time, and I think it sort of, I met him with a very straight face.
And the man on board, of course, was Alan Munro, who's still riding in various parts of the world. And I think he captured the public's imagination as well, because he had this very low crouch style, and the whole look of it was just really striking, I think, at the time, something really different. Yeah,
he had an amazing style, didn't he? And he sort of got really low, and the whip used to come in the air, and it was a bit theatrical in a way, and Generous made the theatrics work, and he used to win so well. And Alan was always such a pleasant guy in the yard, always a very, very good guy, and when horses ran for him, they really did.
Just a fantastic story. I mean, was it that early that you knew that this was the path you were going to follow? Was there ever any doubt?
No, I always used to, I always used to have ponies and stuff, and I always used to love going on the gallops and riding the racehorses, and I was always fascinated going around with my father and just going to the races and, just seeing how it all worked. And, I was always really, really enthusiastic, and as I say, that's why I'm here today.
And you were a pretty decent amateur rider for a while.
Well, that's really, you are very complimentary. I think you're the only person that's ever said that. But I
knew you would get a reaction.
I did win a race on a horse called Squirtle Turtle, Fallon had tried previous times and didn't manage to do it, and then I got on him at Southwell after coming back from Antigua, and we won by a nose, and I just couldn't believe it. But I did a ride against Ryan and a few others, and obviously look at Ryan now.
And was this ever something you were going to keep going with, or was it just a means to an end?
No, I always found it so difficult because I could never do the weight. So you'd spend 3 or 4 days before the race trying to get your weight down, and even when I slept the night before, I'd be guaranteed to lose 1.5 pounds, and then I'd make weight, and then you weigh out, and then you have a Red Bull, and then the race goes, but you're never quite strong enough to see it through, and that's the reason why I just decided enough's enough.
But did it give you, I know it was only a limited career, but you mentioned the wasting and the Red Bull and whatnot. Did it give you that tiny bit of empathy for what jockeys are going through on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realise how dangerous it is. How everything's about fractions, and I think some people read races. They don't read races very well because jockeys try to explain, but then when you look at it, you realise why they couldn't do this or they couldn't do that. And I think it gives you a massive insight, and I'm really pleased I did it. And, I couldn't be more grateful to the owners that put me up. So
would it make you more or less forgiving of riders now?
I think more forgiving. More forgiving of riders, yeah.
So what are your aims for Watcombe? As you say, it was this incredible place in the late 80s, early 90s. Prince Fahd sadly died. You lost the horses. A slow building process now. You're trying to inject youth, new owners, new blood, new energy to the place. What's your ambition? What's your aim?
Well, the aim is really, as you said, all of the above, but just to get new owners and look after the owners we've got. I suppose this year what we've changed is I've got a quad with a GoPro on the back, and we film every single bit of work we do, and then in turn we send it off to owners. But it's got the speed, the map on the screen. It's got the altitude, and then I send it all to the owners. Every single bit of work that all their horses do, and I think they love that, and I think that's very much it's kept them really happy this year. And then in turn I show it to all the lads, and if we've got new lads, I say you've gone too slow there or too fast there, and if you've got new lads, sometimes it takes a few years to sort of get these lads to do what you want, but now with this technology we're getting it more right than wrong the whole time. And then my father's there at the top, and he watches the end like he always has, and then we watch it at breakfast, and the horse might not have done so much as we wanted him to, so we'd work him again, whereas before we might not have worked him again. So it's really brought, technology's really brought us to the forefront. And
you actually broadcast this in the staff hostel as well?
Yeah, in the staff hostel, and we got I show them all, and I give them every single video, and we all talk about it. We have a WhatsApp group for all the lads, and they can see everything.
So are you trying to foster more of a kind of team ethic, get more people in the yard involved in the success of the horses, and sort of make them feel more part of it?
Yeah, I do, and often when we have a winner, we often give the trainer's prize to the lads, unless it's solid silver or gold or something like that. But never, we gave the Cambridgeshire winner his lad the prize, and I think it's really important for the lads to know that it's a big team effort. It really is.
And so how many horses are you looking after at the moment?
We've got about 45, 45, and we've got some brilliant owners, some old owners, and we're in a really good position now.
And I know you chiselled away a long time, as I was saying at the beginning of the programme, to get the joint licences. And it had been done once before with Robert and Sally Allner, but that was obviously in exceptional circumstances. But you and your father, and then Simon and Ed Crisford, Dan and Claire Kubler, you've now all got joint licences. That was a fairly long road, wasn't it, to getting there? Because I remember you talking to me about it 2 years ago, thinking it was right round the corner, and it took a little while.
Yeah, I remember telling you at Newbury that it might happen, but I think there was a lot more work that had to go in than the BHA originally thought, and a lot of thanks goes to them, and now we're here, and we've had a great start. having a Royal Ascot winner, and you know, I couldn't be happier with it. It's been a remarkable year, really, in the circumstances.
Royal Ascot win came with Highland Chief, of course, and then you were living the Derby dream with him for a little bit. How much of a boost did that give you and everybody, particularly after the delayed start to the season?
Well, it gave us a huge boost, and it was really good to have the winner for the Hayes. Mr. and Mrs. Hay are basically the backbone of Watcombe, and Alex, my brother's the manager, and it was really nice to have a winner for them. And also, my first winner was for Chris Wright, who's a very old friend of ours, and I've always looked up to Chris, and it was really, you know, very emotional to have the first winner for him. And yeah, no, it's brilliant. And then the Cambridgeshire, Clive Norman and Lee Green, great owners, and you know, it's just made everyone so happy, and you know, we've got sort of orders going into the sales, and yeah, we're in a good position, I think.
Let's relive that moment from a couple of weeks ago when Majestic Dawn won the Cambridgeshire. It was an insane performance, really. I don't think many of us really fancied the horse beforehand. I know you were keener on him, and I know one or two people did tip the horse. He'd been fifth in the race last year, but this was a sort of shock and awe performance, really. How is he now?
Well, he's fine, and I was standing next to Roger Varian watching the race, and he said, is that you in front? And I said, well, I think so. I was so shocked, but he didn't stop, did he? And we have been swimming that horse. We've got a swimming pool at home. We've been swimming him twice a day, 20 lengths, and he's been working, so he was very, very fit. And yeah, he didn't stop. He's a very good horse. Obviously, you know, there's no hiding places. He's had his little problems, but we got him there in one piece, and we gave him a prep race at Kempton, and you know, that brought him on a lot to winning the Cambridgeshire.
You talk a lot about trying to keep your owners engaged. That's obviously something uppermost in your mind. Do you have a very keen sense that racing isn't perhaps doing quite as much as it needs to sort of reach out?
No, well, you know, we've got you know, we've got new owners in the yard this year, and particularly there's a horse called Gordonston. We got 2 new owners in that, and one of the owners has never been down to Watcombe, and I've been keeping him engaged with the GoPro footage and all the movements. We discuss entries and everything. We like to get people really involved, and you know, he was saying the other day he'd like to get involved with a few more horses. This is a guy that I've met once at Cheltenham. I had a beer with him and managed to get him into a leg, and now he's really enthusiastic about getting involved in more horses. He hasn't even been to Watcombe. So you've really got to keep everyone engaged and show them as much as possible. And you know, having the quad and the GoPro shows them everything. I mean, it's all right being at the end of the gallop and then showing them a 5, 6, 7 second clip, but seeing the whole thing through on, you know, we've got 3 sets of gallops. You know, it's a remarkable bit of technology we've got. And
getting people as close to the horses as you possibly can.
Exactly. And I think that's really important, in getting them to know the characters of the horses, and you know, it's, you know, let's not forget they're the ones that are the most important, really, because they keep us all going.
I mean, this has been a tough year for a lot of people. It's been a tough year for racehorse trainers, as we hear on a regular basis. But the owners in the main have kept the show on the road for you guys, because they've kept an awful lot of horses in training. I mean, are there any that you don't have that you would have had but for COVID?
Yeah, I think so. I think as you say, I think that we you know, looking after is basically the most important part of it. And through COVID, we've made more of an effort.
And just as far as the actual strength of the yard's concerned, are you now able to go to the sales and buy horses and fill up and replace what you need to do?
Yeah, yesterday I was at the sales. I got up. Well, I went home and I got up for first lot, and then I went to the sales. I looked at 105 horses, and I went home to put the kids to bed because I won't see them until next week. And I think we've got. I'd like to think we've got some new horses. Some orders going into next week. Some new ones.
So that Royal Ascot victory and that Cambridgeshire winner cannot be, you know, the importance of that cannot be overstated. that's fresh in people's mind, and you can now head to the yearling sales and restart.
Yeah, I think that's very true, and I also think the way we look after people also adds a lot to that, because whether their horse is okay, you know, as I said, I mentioned a horse earlier, he's won a race, but you know, it's very much the way we look after people.
Do you think you've got a good temperament for this job, Ollie?
That is a very good question. Actually, and I was on the way up here, I was thinking how I was going to answer this. And I'm going to be, as you said, when I spoke to you yesterday, you've got to be honest. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would say no. If you had asked me 3 years ago, I probably said no. If you asked me today, I'm ready, I'd say, right, I'm ready. Because there's a lot of knocks you have to take. But the main thing is just to try and stay consistent and not get overly excited about things.
So you were just a bit
more... Yeah, a bit more on edge, but now I'd say I'd like to think I'm a bit more on an even keel. And you know, you get a lot of these young trainers, I'm sure they find it very, very difficult. You know, there's a lot of pressure. Every single horse is a bit like, you know, business, each horse, and you've got to try and, you know, make that business work and win. And as long as you're truthful with your owners and you tell them everything, I think that's really the way forward.
How do you think you and your father complement each other? What are your kind of complementary skills, views, attitudes, way of looking at things?
Well, I think my father's, you know, he's always been a very serious, a straightforward man, and he's great to have there as a bit of a bouncing board. I suppose where, you know, and he's got the experience, so if I'm not quite sure, I'll always ask him. Where I think I'm coming from is, you know, I'd like to think I'm freshening everything up a bit. You know, things can get a bit stale or not stale, but you know, I'd like to think I've come in with a smile and, you know, and trying to freshen up, welcome in and entice new people in, youth and whoever wants to come in.
And how do you think you're doing?
Well, I think we're doing well. I think there's room for improvement. I think I'm learning all the time, and I'm really looking forward to next year.
And you've got lots to look forward to, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I've got lots to look forward to. I think we're very lucky. We're very lucky with Watcombe. The facilities are amazing, and the gallops and the swimming pools. I think we're really lucky to train there, and it's so important that we kick on, try and build up the stables so we can stay there, because it's a magical place.
Now, are you off to Goodwood after this?
No, I'm going to.
You've got to go back to the sales, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm going to Newmarket to look at another 100 or so.
To look at another 100 horses. But you have got a runner this afternoon.
Yeah, River Dawn. I think he'll go quite well.
Which race is he running in?
He is. I'm not sure what time the race is, but I think
5 o'clock.
Yeah,
I'm
5
just
o'clock.
being told.
Oh, well done. Yeah.
So is he going to win?
Yeah, I think he's got a good chance. Yeah, I think he's. I mean, personally, I wouldn't back him, but I don't really back horses. But he goes there fit and well.
Well, listen, thanks so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate you coming. I told you it'd go quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Oliver Cole, thank you very much. Ollie Cole, who has River Dawn running later at Goodwood and has had a Royal Ascot winner and a Cambridgeshire winner in his first season with his name jointly above the door with his father.